RV-4 lifted off the ground for the first time, it was apparent that there was something wrong. It was pretty windy, so I wasn't going to write everything off to that, but it was obvious that it was very pitch sensitive for some reason. Shortly after the landing to reposition the batteries, when I touched one of the packs, it lit up. It appears that when I put the battery pack in, I trapped the balance leads between it and the wood structure. The good news is that only the fuselage itself was wiped out. So I got a new fuselage, had to replace a couple of the servo leads, but all things considered, I think we came out of this better than expected. And this is the maiden flight of the rebuilt RV-4. I'd moved both battery packs to just ahead of the CG point, hoping to calm it down a little bit. And when it got in the air, it was a little bit better, but it was still not right. Whenever I went to full throttle, the RV-4 still went into a steep climb. One of the first things I noticed about the RV-4 is you put the flaps out and this thing lands at a walk. And that means it makes lots of lift at low speed. As we increase speed, the lift goes up and the plane just naturally wants to head upwards. We have to control the angle of attack, and we can do that a couple of ways. One way is to create a mix between the throttle and the elevator. I just picked a new mix, left it at normal, and then enabled throttle and elevator. Now you want to check this, but under rate, when I enter positive numbers, that gives me down elevator. And I thought I'd start out with 5%. The offset lets us control where in the throw of the throttle stick this mix comes on. And this will take a little trial and error to get it right. Now where it says switch, if we just leave on, the mix is in place all of the time. We can put this on a switch so we can turn it off, and I'd suggest doing that at least initially. I decided to use the E switch to turn this mix on and off. You can assign any unused switch that feels comfortable to you. Later, when you're comfortable with the mix, you can come back and put the switch back to on so it's on all the time. Or you can just leave it where you can turn it on and off. With this mix enabled, as we advance the throttle, both elevators move accordingly. When setting this up, we selected one elevator half, but the radio moves both of them equally. Another way to control this is to use an F mode and assign that to a switch that's handy to you. I use F modes on just about all of my airplanes, and I've always put it on the B switch because that just feels normal to me. You can look in the manual to see more about spoken flight modes, where you can have the transmitter tell you what mode it's in. Next we go into the trim setup to tell the F mode what channels we want it to monitor. This is how I set up most of my planes. For our purposes here, just to control the climb, all we really need is the elevator. Once we enable the F mode, anytime the switch is in this position, the radio remembers any trim settings you make. This way you can set the elevator trim in this F mode so the plane flies straight and level at speed. Then if you're going to land or do something slow, you can just set the F mode to a different position. As you're going up to speed, you just flip the switch and the elevator assumes the last trim setting. And that's really all there is to using an f-stop. Whichever method you choose, you can dial the plane in so it flies the way you want it to. You can dial out that unwanted climb at speed. And when it comes time to do something slower to land, you can flip a switch and turn that correction off. And that lets the plane handle normally at the slow speeds. And that's important with the RV-4 because it will definitely fly slow when you want it to.